But not all odd numbers are prime. 9 isn't prime because you can multiply 3 by 3 and get 9. Paul had a lot of questions about prime numbers. Do they go on forever? Is there a pattern to them? Why is it that the higher up you go, the further apart the prime numbers are? Paul loved to think about prime numbers. When he got older, Paul wanted to go to high school. He liked school 1,000,000 times better than better now. He made many friends, people his age who loved math and were really good at it too. Paul and his friends did math together all over Budapest, but Paul was the best. He loved being on the top in math and at the top of towers and mountains and buildings too. He thought about math whenever he was doing whatever he was doing. By the time Paul was 20, he was already famous around the world for his math. People called him the magician from Budapest. But he still did not know how to do his laundry or cook his food or butter his bread. That was not a problem. He still lived at home, and Mama still did everything for him. But one day, when Paul was 21, some mathematicians invited him to go to England and work on his math. Could he survive out in the world on his own? He rode the train by himself. He met the mathematicians. They all went to dinner. Everyone else talked and ate, but Paul stared at his bread. He stared at his butter. He didn't know how to butter his bread. Finally, he took his knife, put some butter on it, and spread it on his bread. Phew, he did it. It wasn't so hard, he said. Even though he could now butter his bread, Paul soon realized that he didn't fit into the world in a regular way. He wasn't the kind of person to cook or clean or drive a car or have a wife and children. He wasn't the kind of person to live in one place and have one job. He was the kind of person to do math all the time. And he still didn't like to follow rules. So he invented his own way to live. Here's what he did. Paul would get on an airplane with two small suitcases filled with everything he owned, a few clothes and some math notebooks. He might have $20 in his pocket or less. He flew from New York to Indiana and to Los Angeles. He flew across the world from Toronto to Australia. I have no home, he declared. The world is my home. And wherever he went, when he got there, the same thing would happen. A mathematician would meet him and take him home. The mathematician and Paul worked on math. Paul played with the mathematicians, epsilons. That's what Paul called children because epsilon is a very small amount in math. And just as had done, friends all over the world took care of Paul. They did his laundry and cooked his food and cut open his grapefruit and paid his bills. Now, Paul wasn't the easiest house guest. He made messes, big messes. Like the time he got impatient and opened a tomato juice carton by stabbing it with a knife. And he often woke up his host at 4 in the morning and said, "My brain is open." That meant he was ready to do math. He wanted to do math about 19 hours a day, every single day. 19 hours, 7 days a week. One time, when he was a young man, he broke a rule that got him into big trouble. He climbed over a fence to look at a radio tower. He got arrested. The police thought he was a spy. The FBI thought he was a spy. So they spied on him for years after that. Why did friends all over the world put up with him and take care of him, call him Uncle Paul, and love him? Because Paul Ardos was a genius and he shared his brain. He helped people with their math problems and gave them more problems to do. Plus, he was a math matchmaker. He introduced mathematicians all over the world to one another so they could work together. Paul knew that. Paul and his friends did so much great math. They worked in math called Paul showed his friends how to do this math in new and